My name is Richard and I was the script editor on the Top Gear TV show for 13 years. It didn't necessarily feel like a job. It was something more than a job.
Dzień dobry, witamy Państwa bardzo serdecznie w kolejnym odcinku Waszego ulubionego show rozrywkowo-motoryzacyjnego Pojechani. Przed Państwem Paweł Olszowik. Sebastian niestety nie mógł dzisiaj przyjść, ale jakoś sobie bez niego poradzimy. Jadę właśnie na spotkanie, na wywiad z człowiekiem, który przez 13 lat był scenarzystą w programie Top Gear. Richard Porter, bo właśnie o nim mowa, współtworzył jeden z najlepszych programów motoryzacyjnych, telewizyjnych w ogóle, jakie powstały na tej planecie, a teraz postanowił wydać książkę, w której opisuje kulisy swojej pracy i tego właśnie, jak Top Gear powstawał, więc jadę porozmawiać sobie z nim trochę na ten temat.
You wrote a book.
Yes. Because I was unemployed and I had a lot of spare time, and then I realized I had a lot of happy memories as well, and I thought maybe people might like to hear some of these memories.
And it is indeed very, very good book.
Oh, thank you.
What has been the most difficult part of the job on Top Gear?
Thinking of new ideas, because when we started doing the show, I don't think there had been a car show like Top Gear as it became, and it was relatively easy to think of something new that would surprise the viewer, something they'd never seen before. As time went on, I think the viewer got used to the fact that we thought we could do almost anything. And once we had sailed across from England to France in a pickup truck, tried to send a Reliant into space, it told the viewer there was no limit to anything. And so anything that we did after that, I think they would sit there and say, well, this is just what Top Gear do. And that element of surprise, of making people go to work the next day and say to their colleagues, did you see that thing on Top Gear last night? That was what we always wanted to do. We wanted people to be surprised and entertained by everything that we did.
So you did a lot of crazy stuff. What's your favorite thing you have done?
There's so many things where at the time and looking back, I sort of think I probably should check I'm getting paid for this, because it didn't necessarily feel like a job. It was something more than a job. I got to drive some really cool cars, and I'm a total nerd. Every time someone went, oh, we need to get the Lamborghini from here to a place 50 miles away, here, you take it. And you go, okay, I'll do that. I think I can do that. That was always nice. But I suppose it's some of the things where you'd had an idea in the office, or someone had had an idea in the office, usually Jeremy, in fairness, and we'd be discussing it in a room in London, thinking, well, we can never do this. And then you would fast forward to a month later, and there you were, standing somewhere watching this craziness happen, watching a combine harvester that had been turned into a snowplow, or watching them build a rocket to send a Reliant into space, something like that, and thinking, I can't believe that a stupid conversation in our office has become reality, and look at all these people standing around here making it happen. And every time that happened, I did used to think, we have a brilliant job here, because this is ridiculous. There
must have been some things that didn't go quite well as planned. So what's the worst thing that you can remember about the job?
I suppose because it was a lot of fun, but it was also very hard work. You know, we did all work very hard. Me, not so much, I'm quite lazy, but the rest of the team, very hard working. And we used to like things going wrong, up to a point. But when something didn't quite work out the way we'd planned, usually it turned out better in TV terms. It was funnier, more interesting.
Are you still in touch with the three of the presenters?
Yes, yeah. I went for lunch with them the other day, and I hadn't seen them for a while. It's just really nice, because I think part of the secret of the show was that it was those three talking to each other. And maybe people thought that was all just for TV, and it wasn't. You know, that is how they talk to each other in real life. And so you sit around a table with the three of them, and they know each other so well, and they're just so funny and entertaining, and they disagree, and they try to annoy each other deliberately, and it's just fun.
It must have been a hard time for you when all Top Gear ended.
I was very sad at what happened, I was quite annoyed with Jeremy, not just for what he actually did to another friend and colleague, but also that he basically ended the party. He brought this fun time to an end. Not deliberately, but that's what happened. And as I said in the book, that, I was just really disappointed in him and in what happened. But then he was the bigger man, and he sent me a text message and said, would you like to go for a cup of tea? So we went for a cup of tea. And this is how Englishmen sort things out, over tea and by sort of not really addressing things, but just making friends again, which we did. And I'd always kept in touch with Richard and James. So yeah, I guess we're all friends again.
So are you working with them on the new show?
I wasn't sure that I wanted to, because I thought maybe I should go and do something different. But then they keep telling me how much fun they're having, and it's very flattering because they also keep saying you should come and join in. So they would still like me to get involved, which is nice. So maybe I will. Because it's nice to be asked.
Yeah. So, but at the moment you are not working with them.
No, not at the moment. No, I'm walking my dog and spending time with my son and trying not to work.
So we are not also working on the new Top Gear that BBC is
no,
right now.
Again, it was very flattering because they asked over the summer last year. They asked if I would go and join the team. No. Well, I was writing the book.
Okay.
And I had to spend all my time writing the book because it's got quite a lot of words in it.
And what do you think about the new cast of Top Gear? Is there a chance for the new Top Gear to be as successful as the old one?
I think there could be, because I think what they're going to do is something very different. Maybe people were expecting it would be 3 people and they would go around and do what we used to do. But Chris Evans is far smarter than that, and I think he's always known that the show must be different, the format must be different, so it couldn't ever be 3 guys doing what we did.
You couldn't copy that, I think.
No, and people would always compare it. I think it's really interesting. I can't wait to see it, because I can just be a fan at home. When you watch a TV show that you've worked on, you're sitting there going, oh, I wish we'd done that differently, or no, I never liked that bit. If you're just watching it as a viewer at home, you can just enjoy it for the show that it is, and I think it has the potential to be good, so I can't wait.
So what's the most important part of making the good television program?
As a script editor, I'm going to say script, and I do mean that. I mean, it's very important, and a script doesn't have to be detailed line by line, everything that everyone's going to say. A script is a plan, an intention. It's what you hope will happen. We're starting at this point, and we hope to get to here, not just physically, but also the story is going to start here and hopefully end here. That plan has to be strong, and if it's not, if there are flaws in it, if there are weaknesses in it, then I think the viewer will spot them straight away. So the script is vital. Without a good script, then your show is nothing. How
much really was scripted in Top Gear? Because sometimes you had a lot of jokes that really needed some preparation, so clearly they need to be scripted. So how much was improvised?
Very hard to say. Very annoying for me that some of the best parts were improvised. I think a lot of things that people thought were set up actually happened naturally, and you'd find yourself going, no, that was just an accident. And some things that just happened, or appeared to just happen, in fact had been planned, weeks in advance. So it's very hard to say. I could probably sit with you and watch an episode and go, yeah, we planned that, no, we didn't plan that. And I think our best stuff often was the things that happened by accident. But then part of what we tried to do out in the field was then, okay, this car's broken, this has happened, this has fallen over. What do we do next to make the most of it, or to make it to our advantage? And that was part of the skill. Something Jeremy was particularly good at was completely rethinking something while we were there filming it. And the rest of us, so Richard and James and me and our producers, we were just there to try and help out with that, just to try and turn disaster into triumph.
Do you have an opinion about Polish cars?
I actually have a Polish car, sort of. Well, I have a Fiat 500.
Okay.
So, Polish-made car. Yeah. I know it's not designed here. When I was at university, a guy I knew had an FSO 125. and it once caused a friend of ours to get into the car when it was parked on a slope like that, side on, and he got in. The back seat was very slippery because it was plastic, and he just slid straight across the car, and then just as I opened the back door, and he just fell out the other side. Possibly one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And for that, I have to thank the people who designed the seats in the FSO 125.
Jeremy didn't like the Poloneza. Did you help him write the jokes?
I didn't. That was nothing to do with me. I'm not just saying that because I'm in Poland. There is a story to that, and why Jeremy could never forgive the Poloneza, because he was once in a taxi, which was a Poloneza in London, and it was taking him to the airport, and it broke down in the big tunnel that takes you into Heathrow Airport, where there is no sidewalk or anything. So he had to get out of this broken down Poloneza with a driver who was still demanding money from him, and take his suitcase and his bag and walk through this tunnel in traffic. That was it. His relationship with the Poloneza was always, after that, a bad one.
So we can forgive him for that one. As you said, you are a car geek, car enthusiast. What is the best car you have driven on Top Gear?
Ferrari 458 Speciale. I like the Jaguar F-Type very much. Too many to mention. I always think I'm a very lucky boy because I got to drive a lot of really cool cars, and you know, not all of them super expensive fast cars. You know, I have a Land Rover Defender, which is the slowest car you can imagine, but which I love absolutely to death, and which I slightly blame Richard Hammond for me buying. So many cars, so many nice cars that we got to play with.
And the worst one you've driven?
There was a car called the Rover City Rover. They let us borrow one just to see what it was like, and what we discovered was it was terrible. But of course the thing is, really on Top Gear we're dealing in very sort of black and white, big kind of TV terms. So we like cars that are really, really good, but we like cars that are really, really terrible because there's something to say. The worst thing a car can be is just ordinary, and there's nothing really to say about it. And the City Rover was terrible, and we thought, here we go, we can really lay into this car. But when we rang Rover and said, could you send back the City Rover so we can film it, they said, no, we've decided not to. So when even the company that makes it knows it's bad because they know what's going to happen, we thought, we're not going to let them get away with that. And we put a hidden camera in James's tie, and we sent him into the dealership. What's funny about that is that was so many years ago, no one knew who James was. If we tried that now, it simply wouldn't work. They'd go, there's that man off the television, and look, he's got a camera in his tie. But at the time, he just walked in, they had no idea. Was there anything you wished you could do on Top Gear but didn't have a chance to do? There was a guy who worked on the show, who's still a friend of mine, Jim, who has one of the most amazing brains I've ever met, because his ability to think of weird and brilliant ideas is incredible. And one day he said, I've always wondered if a monkey could drive a car. And we said, well, no, I think it would struggle with the gears, wouldn't it? And he went, no, an automatic car, obviously. And we went, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Because as I was saying, we wanted to surprise viewers, and we always thought, no one's ever seen a monkey drive a car. What would happen? But we spoke to a monkey sanctuary, and they said if we tried to do this, they would shut us down. So that idea never happened. And I've always regretted that, because I'd love to see what happens if you gave a monkey a car. Maybe it would be the moment monkeys realised that they could destroy us all. Perhaps for the sake of humanity, we shouldn't let monkeys drive cars. I just don't know. Do you have any advice for the people who are trying to make motoring shows, maybe, you know, for YouTubers? I would say keep it simple, make your script as good as you can, always think hard about your ideas, and to question yourself. And if you think it's a good idea, sleep on it, come back, maybe you could make it better. But I think Top Gear ruined the lives of YouTubers because we were lucky, we had a big budget, we had many very experienced cameramen, directors, editors. So we set a very high standard which you can't hope to match unless you have that budget, that level of staff. Some people on YouTube try to get there. My advice would be don't try to get there, do your own thing, because I've seen some great stuff on YouTube that embraces the fact it's being made in a totally different way, and this is the future. It's plain that, you know, YouTube is where everybody is now, and there's some guys who are doing amazing stuff with vlogs in all kind of fields. And I think the task of any YouTuber talking about cars is that it's difficult, because unlike talking about gaming, you can't just sit in your bedroom and go, hi, I've just played a new bit of Minecraft. You know, you've got to get out there with the car, and that means going out in the snow. It means you've got to get shots that show what the car looks like. Cars are very hard to film, as you know, because they're shiny and they move, and it's a big pain. But I think there are ways to do it that are different to Top Gear and actually could be really entertaining and really interesting. Think about what your idea is, think about what you want to say and why. Why do you believe you are entitled to tell people about this? And if you think you've honestly got something interesting to say, then, well, go and do it. Okay. Obviously, when I'm talking about things that are interesting to say, I realise it's incredibly hypocritical because I'm just droning on nonsense, but yeah, try and be interesting.
Can you tell us about your plans for the future? What are you going to do?
As I said, I might go and have some fun with the old gang doing the Amazon thing. Apart from that, I don't know. Just walk my dog again. It's a very big dog, it needs a lot of walking, and you know, dog walking is thinking time, so maybe I'll think of something new.
Okay, so good luck with that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A jeżeli macie ochotę poznać jeszcze więcej anegdot zza kulis powstawania programu Top Gear, koniecznie zapoznajcie się z książką Richarda. Mamy dla Was kilka egzemplarzy z autografem. O tym, jak je zdobyć, dowiecie się w opisie tego filmu. Tam też znajdziecie linki do naszego Facebooka, Instagrama, innych tego typu fajnych rzeczy. Ja za dzisiaj Wam bardzo dziękuję. Widzimy się już w przyszłą środę, tradycyjnie o 18:00, tradycyjnie na pojechani.tv. Na razie. Jeżeli masz ochotę swoje Seicento przyozdobić wielkim spoilerem, why not?
No, dlatego, że przepisy mogą tego zabraniać i to jest w sumie dobry powód, żeby jednak nie walić spoilera do Seicento czy do Tico.